Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, this is going to be a controversial topic, but I'm going to share my opinion either way because I think this is relevant. Because I think there's another agenda at play here. And even though I don't like Andrew Tate, I'm still capable of being objective and seeing what's going on. What could be an ulterior motive. So, I watched the video where Tate is disciplining a woman lightly with a belt. Okay? She's in her lingerie on a bed. Now, this video could be an acting scene that they upload for monetization, because in the adult industry, in the prawn world, we'll call it, that aggressive and even way more aggressive genre is all over the internet. I mean, that genre is the most popular. It's not the romantic Spanish, you know, come with me, and or the Italian, like, I give you a rose. It's very, very aggressive intimacy. We'll put it the best way we can, just to not be vulgar. Okay? And so, how do we know that they weren't high, or that she wasn't high, and they wanted to do a skit, an acting skit, for monetization when he was with those cam girls? Okay, that's another thing. Because it's only a tiny clip, and we don't know what happened before, and we don't know what happened after. Further, my mom was an escort and a stripper, and I learned a lot from her about the women who choose that life, and how their energy is so wild, they need someone even more stronger than them to make them even get stimulated. Okay? There's a reason why 50 Shades of Grey and these BDSM, you know, choking, gagging, belting, spanking, whipping, all that kind of stuff has become really pushed. You can call it artificially induced by Hollywood. You can say all that. But the point is that there are women who actually enjoy aggressive men. Okay? This is proven by thousands of videos online, and women buying books about kink and all that stuff, and going into sex shops. There's all these weird toys, or handcuffs, and you name it, all kinds of bizarre things, right? A'udhu billah. And so what we're getting at, well, what I'm trying to explain here is that to call Tate evil for what he did is hypocritical, because rappers do the same type of thing in their music videos. Snoop Dogg with his pimp hand, he's literally been talking about that since the 80s, and people love him. He's been with Martha Stewart. Cardi B has an aggressive energy. I'm sure she's done some kinky things, and pimptresses do the same thing. Other adult entertainers will harm each other. It's like, you're not gonna talk to a baker the same way you talk to somebody who's a nurse. The decorum is what I'm getting at here. It's a myth to think that you can get around a meth head and talk to them as sophisticated as you would the principal of a university. Now, don't get me wrong, you treat everyone with respect, but when you're in the sin world, there is a different game there. You cannot go into the sin world and expect to have no aggression, no type of violence, all soft words. It's just not how it works. No person who actually has been around that world, heard the stories, would say that a man can manage those types of women by being a soft, you know, guy. They wouldn't respect him, they wouldn't give him his money, and they would not have consented for him to be the pimp. Now, the pimp mentality has been sung about since the 90s. 50 Cent, people love him, Ice Cube, you name it. there's so many songs about being a pimp. What does a pimp do? They keep the women in line. And the way in which they do that, I don't want to get graphic, but either through drugs, intimacy, hyper aggressive intimacy, domination, and the women like it. They get off on it. They choose to stay. And they like the money. They like the attention. That's just why the rumor is of so many of those women have daddy issues. Okay? That's why that stigma exists about those kinds of women, is because they choose it. Okay? Now, on a deeper level, I as a woman, you know, I'd prefer my man to be aggressive like that. Some women like it. You want respect verbally, but some women don't mind a little bit of like, ooh, you know, you did this to me. I don't know how to explain it. I'm trying to maintain the most haya as possible. But some women like and need and get satisfied by more dominant energy. And some women are softer, shyer. You know, they rather talk to you while you read the newspaper. Some people can do both worlds. You know what I mean? So what we're seeing in that small clip doesn't tell the full story. Because they're trying to say, well, he taught young men how to beat their women, therefore we banned him, and here's a video. I think that, I don't like Tate, remember, but I think that Tate was interrupting those OnlyFans, the women who I've seen complaining by checking out their profiles, listening to their videos. I think they were mad he was interrupting their money stream. Okay? Because he was telling young men, stop paying for that. Here's how you get a woman. Don't simp for her. Be more masculine. And I call it, his masculinity, I call a little bit arrogant, right? So it's not the same as what I would see from a Muslim man. But he was getting in the way of their money flow and putting it into his Hustler University, telling men to stop playing video games. And a lot of these women play video games with their shirt off, and men tip them. And so, you know, he's disrupting the cash flow. And when a woman loves money, all right, and she wants that vacation, baby. She don't want to lose none of that cash. Now you've, you know, pulled the tiger's tail. So they came after him, dug up some dirt, fabricated a story, and said this is why. And I think that's a lie. Because all these people are fine with watching Hollywood movies where producers, you know, they go to their orgy parties, they do all kinds of debaucheries, they're fine watching their movies, all the rap artists. I mean, come on, man. Even the heavy metal guys, they do all kinds of weird things. The Satanic Temple, their sex orgies, the weird rituals they do all kinds of strange things. But they funneled in on this one video where he pushes her head, he gives her a little spanking a little bit with a belt. I guess told her, like, why'd you turn off the camera, why'd you stop? This is like, huh, you know, are you supposed to feel sorry for her? I don't know that, because those chicks, they get stimulated off of aggression. They do a couple lines of cocaine, drink some alcohol, and then say, sorry, daddy, and they, don't to be vulgar here, but they give him some type of oral candy, and then they're back at it again like nothing happened in 2 hours. And you may be thinking to yourself, that's crazy. Well, yeah, those women are crazy. I mean, it's so easy for the fake feminists to say, well, sorry, the feminists who are being fake, right? Oh, don't kink shame. You can't tell people their kinks are wrong. It's awesome when a girl pegs a guy and she smacks him and she beats him and she dominates him in these films. It's awesome. And oh, if a woman wants to be dominated that way, who are you to judge her? She's living her true self. Who are you to say? Don't judge. It's none of your business. Stay out of their bedroom. Okay. And then these same people who live and think like that, who are in a complete jahiliyyah, get mad when a guy does that to a woman who probably likes it, is used to it, it's part of the job, And then those same women will justify the aggressive porn industry. I'm sorry, it's just hypocritical. I just can't believe it. I just can't take you serious. You know? And with women who are druggies, who are in that world, you're not talking to like a group of nuns here, okay? You're not talking to women who are they're so pliable. They're like more wild and aggressive and like grrr in your face. And so the men have to be, hey, I said do this, I said do that. And then their direction, their forcefulness makes women calm down, calms their hormones down. They get excited, and then they go do what they said, and they come back, and usually their pimp makes love to them, or someone in the group makes love. I'm saying makes love, but you know what I really mean. The more aggressive, vulgar term to the chick. And she counts her cash, buys high heels, goes tanning, gets her nails done, gets her hair done, gets drunk, and then talks about her kinky stories with the other women. You'd be surprised about this. So that's why I'm talking about it, because I think it's just a setup. I think it's misleading, because these same women will complain about their bedroom life, okay? And then they say they want to explore. They want to challenge taboos. They want to, you know, create a new vision of sexuality and sexual liberation. And then when they get around the men who do that service, they're like, oh, I'm so shocked. I'm so shocked. I mean, the amount of women who like to get choked with belts, who, I mean, I don't want to get vulgar, but you'd be surprised. And if she's gonna, and this chick didn't file a police report. She didn't make any claims against him that I know of. And if she comes out now, just think about the money, you know? Those chicks, you can't really trust them, because they'll do anything for money. I mean, they get paid a lot. You'd be so surprised what some of these women will do and say for money. What they worship is money, attention, and materialism. And when you're dealing with a person like that, you can feel sorry for them and say, oh, I can't believe they did that. But they chose it. If someone is a trafficking victim, then I feel sad, because they didn't choose it. They were stolen, they were kidnapped. But if a woman voluntarily does it, and it's her job, she has a right to say no to some things and yes to some things. But there is this aggressive play that does happen between the pimp and his worker. Okay? It's really interesting. You'd have to study that psychology to really understand and grasp how kind of psychotic these women are. And I tell girls all the time, don't go into that industry. The feminists tell them, go into that industry. Well, if you're going to go into that industry, you have to expect everything. If I work at a restaurant, I'm going to have good customers and I'm going to have annoying customers. I'm going to have good chefs cooking the food, and there's going to be bad chefs cooking the food. When you accept a job, it comes with the good, the bad, the difficult, the ugly, and you can whine about it, but you signed up for it. And with that industry, it's pretty clear what's going to happen. I mean, the wild things those girls do for money and attention would shock you. And the more they do, the more wilder and insane they get. So it's like, I'll put it another way. If you enlist in the military and then you're shocked when you see someone get shot, you're like, well, you enlisted in the military. Someone comes back without their leg. You're shocked because you feel bad for them, but you enlisted in the military, right? You knew what you were signing up for. When you go into the dark arts realm of hedonism, lust, sin, perversion, decadence, pomp, all that, well, there's going to be customers who want certain things, and you can say no to some, and if they have a big enough stack of cash, they'll say yes. And the more you bend your will towards money, the more your mind becomes more unhinged, and the more you have to, those men have to regulate those types of minds. It's like when you see a cop says, put your hands in the air, drop the weapon, drop the weapon. They're shouting, right? Because that person's high on drugs, they're not thinking right. They can't be like, will you please drop your weapon? Please, please. Criminal usually doesn't listen either way. But you get what I'm saying? It's When you yell at a disobedient dog, it's different than when you have a well-trained dog who's sane. When you're hollering at cattle, when you're hollering at a horse, when you're shepherding sheep, different animals require different attention. And when someone's like a sex animal, they are literally programmed every day, all day to do that job, and they're getting all kinds of requests by very strange customers for cash. They change how they interact with the world, how their energy is, how they vibrate off of people, their consciousness. It's not like dealing with a PhD professor who's going to lecture you with a monotone over architecture. These women are wild. I'm not saying they deserve it. You're not getting the point if that's what you're thinking. But what I'm saying is, what do you expect? You know, those girls do hardcore things in their videos. And then we're supposed to be shocked when she gets a little bit of a spanking and her head pushed by her pimp. Now, there are some women who get clocked in the face and they get brutalized, and you're like, okay, the pimp doesn't want to mess up his product. The woman has signed an agreement and verbally agreed to be his product that he sells to other men and women and whoever has the cash, right? Even animals they go with. They agreed to it. They give him part of their money. This is a business relationship. If I drop food on the ground, the chef's gonna get upset. You're gonna be maybe, you do that 7 times, you're fired or suspended for 3 days. Each job has a way in which they discipline. And certain jobs are more wilder than others. It's like you're gonna join a cartel and then get mad when your boss puts a weapon in your face. You see what I'm trying to say here? You chose to join a gang, a mafia, and a cartel. They're not going to talk to you the same way a doctor's office would. You joined a violent organization. Well, you know what you signed up for. When you go to prison, you know you're going to get some experiences in prison. Good and bad. You might make a friend, but you might have an enemy who will shank you in the shower. You going into prison now. Right? You can talk about ideals, like, oh, we just want to be a perfect world. But the pimp industry, also with pimp tresses, you're dealing with money, drugs, fast life, sin. You can't expect that lifestyle to be like a fairy tale, Cinderella, Disney princess realm. That's just not the way it is. And that's not the way it's marketed, and it's not the way it's sold. And that's not what people go there to see. If you want a pretty life and a pious woman to be treated well, you go with a religious woman. If you want to have a naughty, dirty, sticky, that kind of a relationship, you go with those women. Because that's what they're selling. And that may sound cruel, but that is literally what the business is. So, I find it suspicious that this clip is circulating. They're trying to say that's the reason why they banned him. But then they have all the rappers, all the Hollywood movies are still up. And the women complaining advocate for that sex industry, which promotes that kind of material. Something just isn't adding up here. And again, it could be a scene that they acted out. How do we know that she didn't agree to that? How do we know she wasn't paid to do that? But alhamdulillah for Islam. Seriously, we're spared that kind of fitna. Muslim women, we get protected because we have our husbands. We don't do that kind of stuff. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from that kind of sin and evil, to keep us out of the hold of shaitan. But I've made many videos over the years talking about that type of life that I learned from my mom, and being around those kind of women, listening to their interviews. And that's why I talk against feminism, but feminism sells girls this ideal. And then when they see the opposite side of the spectrum, they don't want to take accountability. You know, you can't have one without the other, because if you want to be treated better, you go with your husband. If you want to be treated differently, you go with the pimp. That is just the way it is. So let me know what you think. Please, I'm not going to tell you where I watched it, because it would be a fitna for brothers. I'm looking at this from a wisdom perspective, and we always have to lower our gaze, but I wanted to verify the rumors to see if they were true. And, you know, it just feels very hypocritical. I don't like Andrew Tate, but I feel like there's an agenda going on here. Something doesn't add up. But like I said, he can create his own app. He'll be fine. He's rich. He's got women. He'll be fine. But I just think it's funny to point out the hypocrisy of the feminist liberal people and the occultists. Like, it's just, it's your guys' fault that kind of stuff exists. And they make fun of us for choosing a better path as Muslims. So, which is it? You feel me? So, yeah.